Hey y'all, this is Amanda and welcome back to my Texas Zone 8A garden, and we are out early in the morning and we are ready to do our July garden tour. Okay, so I'm going to do something a little bit different today. Instead of showing you everything, I'm going to focus on the bad and the ugly. So I'm going to show you the plants that are struggling either with the heat issues or insects or things along those lines, and really show you a little bit more in depth the plants that are having issues and then what I'm doing to help with those. Okay, so Jeff is filming today, and so I'm going to be giving him directions sometimes in the film, but let's go ahead and start in the front yard, and I want to start with the Heucheras, which are definitely struggling. So come on up, Jeff Dale. Okay, so these plants right here are Heucheras, the darker colored ones. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th one over there that are up front. Now, I will say this black pearl Heuchera is doing beautifully, and this wild berry is meh. Okay, the cherry truffles on both of my cherry truffles, so that's a cherry truffle right there, and this is a cherry truffle over here. They are both struggling big time. I've given them a little bit of a cutback. I've done some fertilizer. They continue to struggle with the heat, so I'm not sure if they're just not getting enough supplemental water or not, but I'm not going to make a bunch of changes to these particular plants. One of the reasons is, and you guys know that it's a lot of survival of the fittest in my garden. So if these two varieties aren't going to do very well, then I'm going to let them go, and then I can always replace them with the black pearl at a later time. But black pearl is doing great, wild berries, nah, okay, and cherry truffles is definitely struggling. Okay, right here is one of my Supertunias, my bubblegum Supertunia. Not sure what happened. It was doing beautifully after the trim back, and as are all the other ones. All the other ones are doing wonderful, but this one particular one just went totally kaput. Jeff and I were going to check and see if it's a water issue. However, the rest of the plants are over here aren't really struggling with anything, so I'm not really sure what the issue ended up being, but this guy is definitely dead as a door. Now, if you're having trouble with your petunias or Supertunias, make sure you check out my video on how I trimmed all of them back for the summer and how I fertilized them. It has made a huge difference in the Supertunias, not this one, but all of the other ones. Okay, next in the garden that's struggling is, these are my Limelight Hydrangeas, and if you've been following me for a few years, you know that this is a struggle every year for me. I have 2 Limelight Hydrangeas. They get morning sun, afternoon shade, and every year in July, and I will say it's a little later this year, every year they get some kind of like coppery substance all over their leaves. They drop all their leaves. I tend to just come back here, trim them back, and then they give me a brand new flush for the fall. I have tried treating that coppery fungus substance before multiple times, and it really just doesn't make a difference. This year I had it professionally treated by our lawn company, and it did sustain it for about a month longer than usual. So maybe next year I'll have them treated a couple of times, but Jeff can come up closer and show some close-ups of the leaves over here, the ones that have like the coppery substance on them, the dead leaves, so you can kind of see it, and you can see below that it's dropped all its leaves. And I will do an upcoming video where I cut all of this back just to show you all what is going on with it. But yes, this is an issue I deal with every year on my Limelights. I try not to stress about it except for the fact that it's unattractive. But once I cut them back and I will clean up all the dead leaf debris, then they do wonderful. They bounce right back out. They don't give me another flush. But they will give me a whole nother flush of green leaves, just not blooms. And then just comparison for the Supertunias, these are the other Supertunias that I trimmed back, and you can see that they're doing absolutely marvelous. So we don't know what happened to that one over there. It's hot, y'all. It's hot. Okay, I tried to wear my hair down for y'all. You see, I tried. Okay, so over here we're on the side of the house, and this side of the house faces west, so it gets afternoon into evening sun. And I've got this planter right here. The plumbago is doing beautifully, especially after I gave it a trim back. It's giving me a whole nother range of blooms. I will say some of the leaves are a little yellow, and it looks like it could use some fertilizing. The issue is in the back. I have some Canna Lilies, and these are called Miss Oklahoma, and they've really struggled with the blooms didn't last much of at all. And I will say I planted these from bulb tuber, right? So they're brand new this year. They haven't, they barely bloomed, and what did bloom was not attractive. And then a lot of the foliage, if you can see here, is just not pretty. Lots of scorching and burnt. And it was my understanding that Canna lilies are, you know, they're supposed to be able to stand up to the heat. They're a tropical plant. We're very humid here, which is also good for tropical plants. So I'm not really sure what the issue is. And especially I haven't grown cannas in a fair amount of years. So I would love y'all's advice if you've grown cannas, if you have any thoughts about what's going on. Of course, the new leaves look good, but all the older leaves are just tattered and unattractive. So I'm not really sure what ended up happening with that. So if you grow Canna lilies, let me know if you have thoughts on what I need to be doing to help out with this plant. Okay, we're continuing down the side garden, and right here I have a Pugster butterfly bush. And this Pugster butterfly bush, it gets spider mites really bad every year, constantly. I kind of feel like I probably need to let it go. This is one of the proven winners varieties. I think it's Pugster Blue. And I usually give it a really good trim back, and then I'll get some new leaves. Usually I will trim it all the way to the ground, but this year I tried just trimming it halfway. And it's still really continued to struggle. Let me get Jeff up here so he can see some of the all the close-up damage of it. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to go back to what I've done in the past and go ahead and cut this sucker all the way down to the ground, and then let it flush back from there. And usually when it flushes back from there, it does really good. You can see this is new growth right here, and it's doing really pretty. It looks really good. And then of course you can see the older growth that's been infected by the spider mites right here. I don't get rid of this because it is like a trap crop. So basically all the spider mites come here to hang out, and they destroy this plant as opposed to spreading out to destroy other plants. So that is something to consider if you have a plant that's suffering from something like spider mites. You could treat it over and over again, which is great too, but then you could also use it as a trap crop and save all the rest of your plants by sacrificing that one plant. Okay, I am going to show a good thing. This is the area where I have all the Purslane that I planted earlier this year, or earlier this summer, with some really beautiful new coneflower plants, which you can't really see, but they're brand new this year. But I did want to show you all the Purslane while it's open. This is a really great plant. It closes at nighttime, and so I believe the last garden tour that we did, they were all closed because we did the garden tour in the evening. But I did want to show you how beautiful, and we'll get Jeff to come up close and kind of walk the path so you can see all the Purslane. Okay, next we're still in the side garden. We are looking at my black-eyed Susan vine, and I think it's struggling from the heat because once again the side garden faces west. And all the new growth looks great. The older growth, not so good. I've got some scorching on the leaves and that type of thing. I believe it is getting enough water. It's just, we've just had so much heat. And I will say this next week, we're expecting all the way up to 106 degrees. So it's going to continue to be really rough. It hasn't been giving me many blooms this year. So I do think I need to hit it with some fertilizer to kick it up a little bit, but I did want to show y'all that it's having a little bit of trouble. Now, of course, you can see that the Purslane around the base is not having any trouble. It's doing beautiful. It's very happy. It's very spread out. It's not having as much blooms, but I probably can give it a nice little cut back and it will bounce back with all brand new blooms. Okay, right here we have a verbena. This is a Superbena Royale Ice Cherry from Proven Winners. And I have a couple of these right here, and neither of them did well at all. I planted them last fall. They've never just done anything more than stay about the same size. And in fact, I went to pull up this grass right here, and the whole plant's just coming up. So I'm not going to really do anything to save it. Yeah, the soil's moist, so it's getting water. I'm not going to do anything to save it, but this particular variety did not do well. Let me show you a Superbena that did do well, just for comparison, because Superbena does do well in my area. It's just this particular variety. So let me show you the other one. Okay, this guy right here, this is Stormburst Verbena by Proven Winners, and it has done a beautiful here. This is one plant in here. I've already given it a trim back this summer, and it gave me a whole new flush of blooms, and I see a giant weed in here. Hold on, I have to pull this up. Y'all, look at this. Look at that guy in there. Whew. Okay, and it's done really, really well. And then once this bloom is done, its bloom cycle is done, I'll probably get it a whole nother trim back to encourage more blooms. But you can see the massive difference. Superbena does do well on me, but apparently that Royal Ice Cherry, not so good in my area. Stormburst, great. Okay, so we're done on the front and side gardens on what's struggling, so we're going to head to the back. Okay, so I did want to focus on this plant right here. This is a Cosmos, and Jeff will get an up-close picture of this. You can see that spider mites have taken over these, so you can see the webs, you can see all the little spiders. So basically at this point I need to just cut it out and throw the whole plant away at this point. And I get a lot of spider mites during the summer when we just don't have very much, rain at all. Spider mites don't like moisture. So one of the ways to treat these is you could just douse this plant day after day with water, and the spider mites don't like it, so they will typically go somewhere else. Most likely I'll just cut it out. The other one I'm having a little bit of issue with is a Boltonia, and this is new to me this year from Blue Stone Perennials, and it has struggled. This is not part of it. This is a Cosmos, but the plant is right here, and I'll put a picture up of what it's supposed to look like, but it should have been doing more than what it's doing at this point. It's really not doing much of anything. You know, maybe it's just really quiet its first year. I mean, it's still alive, but I mean, it's not doing much anything. So if you've grown Boltonia, this is Boltonia Snowbank. If you've grown Boltonia, I would really love to know your thoughts regarding it. If I've got it in the right place. I mean, it gets full sun most of the day. It has a drip line near it. So, I mean, it should be in good shape. But you guys let me know what you think. Okay. Okay, this right here is a Hypericum Berry. It's a floral berry St. John's wort. Pinot is its variety name. And I've had these in here a few years. They're well established. I do struggle with this at this time of the year with Hypericum berries. You can see a lot of the leaves are struggling. They're scorched. They're burned. What I've already done in a prior video is I've done a trim back, and you can see, like, here's one of the places I did a trim back, and you can see new growth coming up already from where the leaves are. Same thing right around here. So I've already done what I usually do with it, and that is to cut it back and give it some fertilizer. And then I also still need to give it a treatment of iron. It really benefits from a good treatment of iron as well. Now, I did want to put the comparison of butterfly bush, you know, the Pugster on the side that was really struggling. That particular variety, that Pugster, just gets the spider mites really bad. Whereas like this variety, this is just a standard variety from a, small nursery. It's not a name brand or anything. It's just a butterfly bush magenta, I believe. It's doing great. So it's not having any issues with spider mites as compared to that other variety. Okay, Jeff and I are wrapping this up. We're tired. So these are my cucumber vines over here. They're not doing so great. They don't do good at this time of the year anyway. This is a straight 8. And you can see a lot of the vines are dying back. I really just need to pull and cut back a lot of the dying ones. I am trying to limp this along so that hopefully in the as the weather gets cooler late in the summer, that I can get some more cucumbers off of it. I will say this has been really productive. I've probably gotten 20 cucumbers off this particular one this year. So yeah, it's done well. It just hasn't done as well as I would like. But I will say there's nothing I'm really going to do about this. This is very typical for cucumbers during the hottest part of the summer. So if your cucumber vine is doing this, don't fret. Kind of just is what it is. You can always go start some more from seed for the fall. That would be totally fine. Or you can do what I'm doing and limp yours along. Good. Okay, so we just walked by this and discovered this. I guess the bird unfortunately met its end. On here, there's some parts. Unfortunately, I've never seen this in our yard before. Have you, babe? Nope. Oh, okay, that's sad. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about another plant up here, and it's going to be kind of hard. Jeff's going to have to get in here close to this because the plant is actually right here, babe. This right here is Verbascum Southern Charm, and this is one of the perennials I got from Bluestone Perennials, and it should be thriving right now, and I have cut back its blooms. It's not doing so much. I'm actually wondering if it's just not getting enough sun, you know, because it is shaded by the cucumbers. I'm not sure. It is also its first year, so maybe it's just small this year, but this should be blooming like crazy, and it is just really not doing much of anything. Okay, I also want to touch base with topiaries. I have a lot of topiary that's doing really great, putting on new growth. I have some topiaries that are just kind of not doing anything. They're just hanging out. And then I have some topiaries that are definitely struggling. And I think this topiary right here is going to be a total loss. It could have been root damage from when I was dividing them. But it could also be topiary blight, which is definitely a thing. It's spread by the wind. So that could definitely be an issue as well. This guy's probably going to be done, would be my guess. This guy has a little bit of struggle. It looks like he might also be having a little bit of spider mite issues. That might be an issue. That might be what I'm dealing with. Here's another area that's not doing so great. This is a whole branch, so this most likely is a blight issue. Whereas this one is really like focused in the center. You can see some of the leaves and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this with a really good spray of water, knocking off any kind of spider mite situation. But I did want to show you I'm having some good stuff, but I'm also having some not great stuff with the topiaries. I also have this Viburnum over here that is also struggling with spider mites. You can probably sense a common situation going on. You can see all the spider mites underneath. Just when we have not had rain for so long, the spider mites like really go bonkers. And they really take over plants, and it sucks. The plants will bounce back. Like this guy will be okay. He'll come back with new growth. I'm not super stressed about it, but you can treat them. I like to just basically treat them with a stream of water. My issue is I forget to treat them until they look really, really bad. And that's kind of where we're at this point. But a stream of water will help a whole lot. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. I have the last couple of days, we've been doing a garage sale and it went really well. We made a ton of money, which is very exciting. We're working on making money to help pay for my daughter's new flute. And so there's some neglect, like some of the plants in this particular wagon that I have not been paying attention to that really need to get into the ground, but I haven't done it. They were all struggling for water. They're all very thirsty. But I did want to do, I know this is a little bit different. I didn't show you a bunch of really pretty stuff, but I did want to point out that every gardener has issues in their gardens. And a lot of times we skip over the bad. And I just wanted to make sure that I showed you the major issues that I'm having, kind of my thoughts behind them, why I think I'm having them, and whether or not I know how to fix them or not. I've asked for some of your advice because some of these plants are new to me and I don't have years and years of experience. So I'll be very interested in your thought processes, what you guys are thinking and what you guys think I can do for my garden. And in return, if you are having issues in your garden, I would love it if you would drop that down in the comments, and hopefully myself or some of the other subscribers can assist you with the issues. So after you finish watching this video, take your time, go through the comments, see if anything stands out to you, a problem that you've had in the past and that you know how to fix. And let's see if we can help other gardeners out with the issues within their garden. All right, y'all, I hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know when my latest videos are up. And make sure you check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.